We are back with another weekly Forex forecast. Welcome everybody. I am FX Telepath. I've been doing these forecasts for over 5 years now, so you guys are definitely in the right place. And as always, we will start with the US dollar, the DXY. So if you haven't watched my previous forecast, I've been talking about how we are inside of this overall monthly area of demand on the dollar. And not only that, we reacted 2 times off of our weekly demand zone. We even got a reaction here. You can go back and check that for yourself and watch the previous forecast. So beautiful move off of our demand zone 2 times. More importantly, the monthly demand is in control. So we could expect the dollar to actually continue to go up to weekly supply at 103.06. Obviously, I will not deny, the weakness that we have seen in the DXY. Obviously, we had a nice 4-hour trend to the upside here. That 4-hour trend line was broken pretty cleanly this afternoon here at the time of recording this video. So with the 4-hour trend line broken, the question is, where is the dollar headed now? And I can't help but keep the fact that the monthly demand is in control in the back of my mind. And I am expecting the dollar to actually continue to rise. On the daily time frame, you can see we have, I wouldn't really call this a trend. What I call this more momentum. That is just how I personally view things. So in my opinion, the momentum's still kind of holding here. If we start to really break down, obviously that is going to maybe make me reconsider my bullishness on the dollar and maybe accept that, hey, maybe we got the move off the monthly demand or the weekly demand, and that's all we are going to get. What I will be watching out for is something like this on the 4-hour chart. Right now, this is just momentum. To me, how I look at things, this is not a lesson video. This is basically just a forecast, but I don't mind doing little lessons in here. To me, this is momentum. It's not a trend, and momentum is not as sustainable as a trend. So if we can get a clear breakout like this, and then that lower low giving us a nice 4-hour downward trend line, that to me is going to be a sustainable trend. And that would make me pretty bearish on the dollar. What I think we are seeing right now is just some sort of fake out. Now, again, if we create that high and that trend, then I will accept that I am incorrect. But for now, to me, it looks like just some sort of fake out below that 4-hour trend line. Now over here on the 1-hour chart, we have a pretty nice 1-hour downward trend. Things got a little choppy here. We didn't break that low. Okay, I thought we maybe broke that low. I guess we did not. It is definitely possible we pull up to this supply, maybe see a small reaction off of it before breaking it, because again, I am bullish on the dollar. But obviously the supply could hold, the trend line could hold, so it's something to keep an eye out for as well. And so again, it might be a decent time to look for quick shorts on the dollar there, but ultimately I think we will be breaking that trend line if we can push up to it. There is an older area of 1-hour demand over here. What I like about it is it's an original zone. You can go watch my full course on YouTube. I talk about that in there. It's an original zone. I like it. It's just kind of old. So like the idea that this is going to be used to really push price up, I don't really know how well it's going to do that. But for now, again, on the dollar, we want to be watching this 1-hour supply above the 1-hour downward trend line to see if we can break it. If it really starts to hold like this, then okay, that to me, that might be a sign that we will be creating that 4-hour downward trend. So to recap here on the dollar, we will be monitoring the 1-hour downward trend, the 1-hour supply zone, and we will be seeing if this is some sort of fake out below the 4-hour trend line. Moving on to the forecast for the Euro US dollar. So on the daily chart here, we did target the liquidity and we almost contacted our daily area demand. It was so close. Very, very tough situation. Usually in this situation, I'll be, if the zone isn't drawn wick to wick, I'll be like, okay, look, we might be able to extend it here just for safety purposes so that we don't take a trade at a tested zone. But in this situation, it was drawn perfectly wick to wick. So this is just a miss of the zone. That was kind of unfortunate, but you could look for longs in here on the daily time frame. It would make me a little bit nervous because of how close that did get to it, but I still think it could be good for quick longs, that's for sure. We have a couple of options here as far as the trading the euro chart goes. Well, on the 1-hour chart here first, we did have that 1-hour supply over here that was correlated with the dollar. The dollar demand broke, but the euro 1-hour supply held beautifully, and that was called out in the weekly Forex forecast from last week. So make sure you guys go watch that, and always subscribe, like the video if you guys are enjoying it, and subscribe so you don't miss any of my forecasts, so you can catch little trades like that, like on the euro. So at this point now, we have broken the 1 hour trend line, or we have broken the 1 hour supply. And again, it was proven supply. So to me, when a proven supply zone, as in we've got a reaction off of it, is broken, that is a very, very bullish sign. So I will say, as long as this 1 hour trend line's holding, 5-minute time frame longs are definitely good. If we break this trend line, we could be looking for longs in this 1 hour demand zone at 115. I think it's a very, very good zone. And what's even better about it is it's inside of an overall 4 hour zone. So you could just take this 1 hour zone, or what you could do, which I personally think is the safer and better option, is we have this 4 hour zone here that not only broke a trend line, but it broke a opposing supply zone as well. And that 1 hour demand I was just talking about is sitting inside of this 4 hour supply. So you can either take the 1 hour demand inside of it with a stop loss below the 4 hour zone, or tight against the 1 hour zone, but then you risk seeing something like this take place. So me personally, I think the safer option is to look for potential longs off of this 4 hour demand zone. But it's a little bit tricky. I am bullish the dollar, so it's tricky. Here at this demand zone, I would be more aggressive with trade management, meaning I don't know how big of a move we're going to get off of this zone, but I would be more aggressive with trade management again, because I think we will most likely be continuing to head down here on the euro. So for now, we could get in long at the 4 hour zone or the 1 hour zone, but since I'm expecting the dollar to continue to rise, we could expect the euro to fall, but it doesn't mean we can't get a quick 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 trade off the zone before we end up breaking it. Moving on to the forecast for gold on the weekly time frame. Just wanted to give everybody the bigger perspective here. Gold has been on an absolutely massive tear here. Yes, we have seen price sell off, but I mean, look at the overall trend. It's still very, very bullish gold long term, even if we break down all the way to here. Yeah, we definitely want to be shorting. However, we have so much demand here. There's an overall monthly demand here as well that we definitely could see a move off of. So it wouldn't surprise me if gold pulls back below 3,500 again, to be quite honest with everybody. Long term, it is something that we could end up seeing. We actually got a nice counter trend set up here. Definitely would make me a little bit nervous on the zone, but nonetheless, we had a nice hidden base drop area of supply, and that supply, right, we got a nice move off of that supply zone. The issue with this supply zone was that it was so close to this daily supply, but depending on how you drew it, if you drew it wick to wick there, you were filled. Even drawing like that, you were so close. So in my opinion, the 4 hour supply was so close to the daily supply that it was actually pretty decent. If we do pull up to this daily supply again, I think we will hesitate, but I think that this move is at least over, not over as in we could continue to still go down, but I think if we push up to it, I think the move has already happened. I don't know how big of a move we're going to get off of that daily supply. So far, yes, the overall trend is up. I'm going to get rid of this upward arrow because, yeah, the overall trend is up on the weekly here, but on the daily, we are clearly going sideways, ping-ponging between supply and demand. And I don't love when that takes place, but since the higher time frame trends are up, we are definitely still going to be bullish. So again, this was a beautiful trade. This trade was called out ahead of time in the daily market breakdown video for the Diamond members. If you want to trade alongside myself and the members, join the Diamond membership, where you will have access to the 38-page supply and demand zone PDF, which will be your complete trading guide, the daily market breakdown videos, which are forecasts that I release every single night for the members to trade alongside myself, step-by-step video lessons A to Z covering everything you need to know on supply and demand trading, the Sunday strategy Zoom session where members submit homework, and it's an interactive 1-hour call where we go over all of your homework and every trading related question, private access to myself inside of our private Discord group where I answer all of your trading related questions, and finally the Sunday live stream forecast where we break down over 30 markets together. And it's not just me. Here are some of the members and some of their trades they've been taking lately, absolutely killing it. And we also have some amazing reviews from some of the past members sharing their experience within the group. So if you're ready to trade alongside myself and the community, join the Diamond membership today. Links in the description down below. So this trade has taken place here already. If you are short at the zone, I would definitely be looking to take profit, or at least be bumping my stop up at least to break even, or be looking to take profit. Why? Because the higher time frame trends are up. The weekly trend is up. So this represents a counter trend trade. Doesn't mean that you can't trade them. It just means you want to be more aggressive with trade management. So if you're still involved in this trade, I would definitely be looking to take some profit off. That's for sure. As far as trading gold goes now, we do have a pretty nice 1 hour downward trend line, and that downward trend line is basically going to represent where our our daily range is going to be, our daily direction. So as long as this 1 hour trend line's holding, guys, we could be looking for shorts on a 5-minute time frame. But I cannot stress enough, if we break the trend line and we have a demand zone there, that is going to be our better trading opportunity at that demand zone rather than shorting. Why? Again, because the demand zone here, if we get it, that's with the higher time frame trends. This is against the higher time frame trends. So you can look for shorts, but remember, if we break the trend line, we immediately pretty much got to stop looking for shorts and then switch our bias to the long side. Moving on to the forecast for the S&P 500, one of the ones I added recently on the weekly time frame and the daily time frame. Just wanted to remind you guys, our higher time frames are trending up. They pretty much are always trending up. Even if we go sideways on the weekly, we still have an overall monthly and 3-month and 6-month and 12-month uptrend on the S&P. So this market is designed to go up, ladies and gentlemen. And on the daily time frame here, we have gotten 2 beautiful reactions off of our trend line. I can't help remember whoever left the comment, trend lines are BS. And I love to see it. I love to see comments like that because it's so funny. Our trend line is attached from down there to here. These are just 2 reactions off of our properly drawn trend line. That, yes, in my opinion, there is a proper way to draw trend lines. So beautiful reactions off of trend lines, definitely a bullish sign. More importantly, was this a reaction off of a trend line or was it a reaction off of a demand zone? In my opinion, it was a reaction off of a demand zone here on the 4-hour time frame. So we've had a little bit of choppy price action here. We had supply removed, decent demand zone here. That was a loss. Pushed up, broke supply with this demand, and we've been waiting patiently for this demand to be contacted at 66.79. It was a little bit of a tough one as we pushed down because we had a couple 1-hour zones here that failed, but more importantly, we pushed into our 4-hour demand zone that was not only responsible for removing a downward trend line, but also an opposing supply zone. So in my opinion, that is why such a strong zone has gotten such a strong reaction to the upside. So how do we go about and trade the S&P right now? Well, as long as this demand's holding, we could be looking for longs on a 15-minute time frame. I think that's completely reasonable, especially since we have a 4-hour demand zone in control with an overall weekly and daily trend to the upside, and knowing that the daily trend line came in contact here, and that's most likely why we are reacting off of it as well. So in my opinion, it is longs all the way. This 4-hour demand zone's already been, the trade's already been triggered. Please, ladies and gentlemen, do not chase price and enter up here with a stop here. You can do that. It makes your risk reward much, much worse. If I'm long from the zone down here and we target the high, I don't know what that risk reward is. Looks like maybe a 4-to-1, maybe a 5-to-1, not even. And if you take your entry up here and your stop is there, now to the high, that's only like a 1.5-to-1. So it's not that great. So at this point, the trade's already worked out, but you could continue to look for longs on the day trading timeframes. Moving on to the USDJPY, I really don't like this daily chart here. I will say I like the trend. I like that we have a trending market, so it's telling me that longs are going to be the better option. What I don't like about it is how close we are reacting to this trend line. I don't like how steep this trend line is. I prefer my trend lines to be more sustainable like that. This is very, very steep. So we are at a high risk opportunity for a trend line fake out to the downside before breaking out. So we got to be very, very cautious of that potential. Now, we have a couple of options here. On the 4-hour chart, we have a beautiful trend line here, and the trend line is attached from here to here. And this is yet another pretty much reaction off of our trend line. A little bit of a fake out here, but to me, this trend line is still holding beautifully. That's how I view things. So as long as this 4-hour trend line is holding, it's going to be longs all the way on the 15-minute time frame, ladies and gentlemen. I know I've said ladies and gentlemen 3 times today. I don't know why. I'm going to stop doing it. Let me know what you guys think. Anyways, since our trends are to the upside, obviously we do prefer to get in long. However, we have a nice downward trend line that's currently being respected. Again, our trend line's attached from here to here. This was a reaction off of our trend line to the downside. So if you're bearish, you think, Kevin, you're so wrong. USDJPY, we're going to do that trend line fake out. we're tanking on the USDJPY. It's fine if you have that opinion, and me personally, I would rather look for shorts, but I will give people who want to look for I don't know. I would rather look for longs. I don't know if I said shorts there. I'd rather be looking for longs, but I'm still going to give people my best advice for looking for shorts. The only way I would be shorting is as long as this downward trend line's holding, you could be looking for shorts, again, only on a 5-minute time frame. That's it. Or if we break above the trend line, we could maybe look for a quick short trade at 154.88. And why do I say quick? Because the daily trend line is up and the daily trend is up. So a short trade is counter trend. It doesn't mean we won't see moves off of them, but we got to be aggressive with trade management. I used to almost pretty much refuse to trade counter trend like this until I'm like not every time, but I would start to realize, hey, we were getting some decent moves off the zone, not a huge move, but like there is money to be made here. So that's why I always say when it's counter trend, be aggressive with trade management. Okay, I cannot stress that enough. Now, for people like me who want to get in long, what do? Well, on this 1 hour chart, if you want to look at it in the 1 hour view, we basically want to break this downward trend line and this supply. Let's say the downward trend line is broken and we have a demand zone here, react out the supply. You could take the trade here. Let's say we push up, we break the supply, and there's a new demand zone there, and we could take that trade as well. Or what might happen is we don't even get the trend line zone. We only get the supply zone removed zone. So that is what I'd be waiting for longs here on the 1 hour chart to continue to trade, again, with the higher time frame trends to the upside. Moving on to the forecast for the GBPUSD overall weekly trend to the upside, looking pretty bullish as far as this weekly time frame goes, but I'm obviously not going to deny the weakness that we have seen here in the pound. Obviously, strength here and there for a couple weeks, but overall, a little bit of weakness here on the weekly time frame. It's really, really visible and evident here on the daily chart. You can see the weakness much more clear. So I'm not too surprised to see, or I wouldn't be too surprised to see the pound continue to go down, maybe down to this demand zone at 1.28. It's actually not a bad daily demand. It represents pretty much our profit margin as well for potential shorts. Now, as far as the pound goes, it's actually quite a tricky situation. I'm going to show you the 4 hour and the 1 hour chart. And this is, I don't have a term for this yet. I'm trying to come up with one on the fly, to be honest. And I'm thinking I'm going to go with a traffic jam. Because we have, basically what we have is a 4 hour downward trend line from previously. And that is basically, we are reacting off of it and it's still holding. At the same time, we have a 4 hour upper trend line. It's actually a pretty rare situation as far as how I view things and how I draw my trend lines. But we're clearly just indecisive right now. And I personally, if you're trading the 4 hour chart, if this is your view, I don't know what to do here. It's very, very tricky, again, because we have a downward trend line and a 1 hour and an upper trend line coming into contact, and we're basically just chopping up here. So it's a very tricky situation. Again, I think we most likely will be breaking this trend line because of the daily downward trend line like I was talking about. So if we get a 4 hour supply zone there, it would actually be a great potential shorting opportunity. Again, since the daily trend is down, our bias is to the downside. So yes, the traffic jam here isn't great, but we could expect to see the pound continue to fall. On the 1 hour chart, we have a very, very, I don't want to say it's not too old as far as time goes. This zone was created at the end of October there. And now, obviously, it's like mid-November. And the zone's kind of old. It's old. It's like all the way from back here, which I usually don't love. But if you notice, I had liquidity here and we got a reaction off of it. So what that tells me is there is support and resistance traders here. And they're obviously, if they're shorting here, their stop losses, which are buying, are right there. So I want to be shorting at that supply zone. I think it definitely could be worth it for a potential short trade, in my opinion, especially since we have liquidity now. When it's an old zone like that, I'm pretty much always have to see liquidity before, and at that point, it's going to increase the odds of the trade working out. Moving on to the USDCAD, the country I am from. And on the daily time frame here, we have a very nice daily upper trend line. Very, very consistent, in my opinion, very sustainable. So as long as this daily trend line is holding, obviously we could expect price to pull up to this supply level at 1.42. And what I like about this trend is, like, I love when we have a trend with clear profit margin. I love that. I love when where it's like, okay, we're probably going to turn around here. this is where we can look to basically wrap up the entire trade if you are able to hold all the way up to that daily area of supply. So I just wanted to show you that daily chart to show you guys that our bias is certainly to the upside. Okay, so I cannot stress it enough. Our bias is to the upside. On the 4-hour chart, a pretty interesting chart here. We are basically sitting in the middle. There's no trend. We have supply above and demand down below. Since our bias is to the upside, I much prefer looking for longs at that demand zone at 1.394. If you are bearish, this is actually a pretty good 4-hour supply zone for a counter trend short trade. And again, it's counter trend, so I wouldn't be looking for more than a 2-to-1 off of a zone like this. If it gets hit like that, move your stop to break even. Take 75% of the trade-off, because yeah, it's a good zone. I like the move away or move demand. The issue is it's counter trend to the higher time frames. That's why one time frame trading setups, they don't really work. So because you have no idea of the location of the zone. So a couple good 4-hour zones here that we could be playing on the USDCAD. And on the 1-hour chart, not the cleanest chart I've ever seen. However, we have 2 1-hour areas of supply. This trade makes me very nervous. So if you're going to trade in the zone, I would be looking for confirmation on a 5-minute time frame only, because I think we will be breaking it, pushing up to this 1-hour supply here, where I think we could get a small move off of. Again, I am biased to the upside, so it doesn't mean we can't short at the zone. It just means aggressive trade management. And since we are bullish as well, anytime, like if these zones get removed, any demand there is going to represent a great dip buying opportunity and in that overall trend to the upside. So let's say we break the zone. There's no zone here, unfortunately. That's fine. Hopefully, maybe if you want to play both sides, you can catch a quick 1-to-1 short, break up, break the supply, leaving us the demand zone there to get in long, and boom, you have a quick counter trend trade win, and a nice with the trend trade win as well. So I'll definitely be watching these supply zones to be taken out. And again, if you want to be looking for shorts at them, you can. You just got to be aggressive with the trade management. All right, moving on to the forecast for the AUDUSD. I'm not going to zoom into the weekly or the daily. You guys can pretty much see it, I hope. I know a lot of you guys are on your phones. Maybe you could just zoom in, but this is terrible price action here and pretty much terrible price action here. Both of these time frames just represent sideways junk to me. However, since we are bullish the dollar, right, in my opinion, we'd rather be shorting the Aussie US dollar. And we got actually a nice 4-hour supply zone here and a nice move off that supply zone so far. It's nice to be in a trade like this, especially after the last couple weeks. It's been pretty rough out there, I am not going to lie. Obviously, you know, our favorite online trading Furu made 50 grand a day last week, right? Yeah, right. But it's been a tough couple weeks, won't lie to you guys. And that's all part of the game. I've been telling the members, you can't give up, okay? If you use ChatGPT, type in your strategy and stuff, you'll see just how many losing weeks, losing months you have in a realistic trading results situation. So if you guys want help with your trading psychology, make sure you check out my podcast, the Stoic Trading Psychology Podcast. It will help you in situations like this. It will basically it'll act as your reminder and your guide, and kind of like I'll be like your friend pretty much on there, where you know, I'll be reminding every day, look, this is a long-term game. This happens. So if you want help with your trading psychology, which is arguably the most important part of trading, then you definitely want to check out the podcast. So again, nice move off of our supply zone here. Beautiful move. The trade's already kind of worked out, and that's kind of unfortunate because I wish I could have pointed this one out beforehand. I'm pretty sure I pointed out in a couple forecasts ago, and I actually drew this 1-hour supply zone trade. I didn't add on here. You definitely could have, but it would have been beautiful. We came back up for a second test though, so this trade's already worked out. Hopefully this doesn't break. If it does break, maybe we could look for a long trade off of that zone. But for now in the Aussie, I just don't see a whole lot going on. I mean, all the trades kind of worked out. But again, that's why I do the daily breakdown videos, because zones like this, right, they only happen once a week, and that might happen on like a Wednesday, right? That's when I record the daily breakdown videos on a Wednesday as well. So that's why I do those throughout the week. So for now, yes, this supply zone in control again. You technically could still be looking for shorts, but again, it would make me a little bit nervous based on the fact that this supply is pretty tested and there's really no trends on any time frame now. There's no direction. The only reason that I said the short is better because we are bullish on the dollar. Moving on to the USDCHF, we absolutely fell off a cliff here, came back in to touch the trend line, and now we are reacting off of it. This is absolutely terrible price action. The trend line's great, but like just these huge moves make it very, very difficult trading conditions. That's why, again, I've been saying it's been a rough couple of weeks. On the 4-hour chart here, we got a nice move off of our, well, I wouldn't say a nice move. So far, semi-small move off of our 4-hour supply zone. In my opinion, the better zone is above for shorts. It would make me nervous though, again, because we're trading against a daily trend, and the fact that we're kind of at the low here makes me prefer longs. So what I'm personally going to be doing is waiting for these supply zones to be taken out, and whether there's a demand zone down here that takes it out or up here that takes out this one, that will be our dip buying opportunity, and I think it could be very, very rewarding. If you're bearish, you could be looking for shorts off of this supply on a 15-minute time frame, or again, you could be looking for shorts off of that zone as well. But since it's counter trend, I would be aggressive with trade management. But if you get in long, I would be less aggressive with trade management. On the 1-hour chart here, it's a very, very clean looking chart. Absolutely love it. We have a nice 1-hour downward trend line, and that is currently in control. So again, since we are our bias is to the upside, I will be waiting for this trend line to be removed. So far, if it does get removed, we will have demand down here, which will be a fantastic dip buying opportunity. I really hope we can get that. Or if we break above the supply or the downward trend line there, any demand there is going to be our potential setup. Or we might even break the trend line here. We won't get a pullback to our zone, possibly push up, break this supply, and maybe get a demand zone trade there. Nonetheless, what I'll be waiting for this week on the USD Swiss is a trend line break. I'll be looking for the zones, a supply zone break, and I'll be looking for the zones up here to continue to get in long on the USD Swiss. Moving on to the forecast for oil. And if you guys have not followed me on Instagram yet, make sure you guys go follow me over there at FX Telepath. On the weekly chart here of oil, we have a weekly downward trend, and we have weekly liquidity down here that I think we will be targeting ultimately. Now, I will admit it hasn't gone our way too well so far. It's been taking a little bit of time, and it's actually a good weekly demand zone down here. And I think now that there's liquidity, I think it's a high probability zone to see a 1-to-1, 2-to-1 move off of that weekly area of demand. On the daily chart here, we have a nice daily downward trend line. And again, if you view this as a channel, we're sitting pretty much in the middle. So I think shorts are actually still pretty decent to be looking for here on crude oil. We have a couple of options here. On this 4-hour chart, we have a beautiful 4-hour downward trend line. So as long as this downward trend line is holding, it's going to be shorts all the way on a 15-minute time frame. So it's basically, you want to be day trading short with the 4-hour and the 1-hour downward trends. We already got a beautiful move off of this 1-hour area of supply up here, called out beforehand in the breakdown videos as well at 60.45. So this trade has worked out. I mean, it still potentially could continue to go down. That would be it fully working out. But I'm just saying that the move has already happened. Now we're just letting the trade play out pretty much. I don't like that we're coming back up for almost 2 more touches. But I will say, as long as this supply is holding, 5-minute time frame shorts are going to be good. Not only because we have a daily downward trend, a 4-hour downward trend, supplies and above. So it's really shorts all the way here on crude oil. And look, if we break this supply, any demand there, it could be good for a quick 1-to-1, 2-to-1 trade because again, that demand zone long would actually go against the daily downward trend. So at the end of the day, we would rather be, we'd rather have already gotten on short on the zone and just let the trade play out here on crude oil. All right, last but not least, we are on to Bitcoin. Absolutely sold off here on Bitcoin, but I mean, look at the higher time frame perspective, guys. Still looking really, really bullish. This demand zone makes me a little bit nervous, but it was still decent, and we could still see a move off of it. The better demand zone is sitting right down below here on the weekly time frame, though. I would love to see a reaction off of the zone or off the liquidity here and pull back into that weekly demand. This honestly might be a great dip buying opportunity for Bitcoin for investment purposes. I personally do not trade Bitcoin. I only added it to these forecasts for you guys because I just want to help you guys out. But I've made plenty of money on Bitcoin just kind of buying without a stop loss, like basically where my stop loss was if it goes to 0, I don't lose anything that's, would make me, it would hurt, but it wouldn't be destroy me. That's my stop loss. So this might actually be a good dip buying opportunity for that exact purpose, again, to make a little bit more money on Bitcoin. It's been very successful for me, and I'm looking forward to get a pullback down to that zone if we can. But for now, that weekly demand zone is actually in control. So technically, longs are going to be the higher odds situation. Right now, we broke daily area of demand, and in my opinion, that daily demand was almost broke by this daily supply zone above at 109,422. We cannot deny the weakness here. It's looking very, very weak on Bitcoin, and as long as this daily trend line is holding, we could expect price to pull back down to that weekly area of demand. If we break the trend line, any daily demand zone there is going to be a great dip buying opportunity, in my opinion. And both of these daily supply zones could be used for quick short trades as well. The short trades are going to be counter trend, so that's why I say quick. So remember, it's always going to be pretty much counter trend. On the 4-hour chart here, not the best price action, right? Older zones being broken here. I think we had a member trying to buy this zone over here or something, and it's just too old for me. And I mean, in my opinion, that's why it's broken. I would never touch a zone that's that old, especially if there's like no liquidity here at all. I don't really see any good areas of supply here as well. So what I will say is, as long as this 4-hour trend line's holding, we could be looking for shorts on the day trading timeframes. We're kind of at the low end of the channel though, so I'd rather be doing that up here somewhere for shorts. I think that would make me, feel a little bit more comfortable. And kind of the same concept here on the 1-hour chart. As long as the 1-hour downward trend line is holding, we definitely could be looking for shorts. But again, look at where we're at. If you look at this in the channel, we're at the low end of the channel. Don't really want to be shorting down there. I'd rather be shorting up here, especially if there was a nice zone on a lower time frame. Yeah, you could catch a nice trade, but the bigger moves are going to happen at the higher end of that channel. And again, as somebody who would prefer to get in long on Bitcoin, I'm just going to be waiting for the trend lines to be removed, whether it's on the 4-hour or the 1-hour chart. That is really going to be our only dip buying opportunity at this point. We have to get confirmation, guys, because price is falling off of a cliff. We don't want to be just buying random old zones from, 2-3 years ago. It's just not going to work. It could work out. It's just not going to work out. When price is really tanking like this on the weekly and we have a daily downward trend, our only job on the 1-hour and the 4-hour chart is basically to wait for trend lines to be removed and new zones to be created. And that's just reality. I could sit here all day and just give you a ton of zones and hope one of them hits and be like, oh, yeah, let's go. But I'm here to help you guys out. And at this point on Bitcoin, yeah, we have a weekly demand in control, but we need to start to see confirmation, because right now we have 4-hour, 1-hour downward trends, and it's looking like price is just falling off of a cliff here on Bitcoin. If you guys want access to my full-length forecast, join the Diamond membership, where you will have access to that, as well as my daily market forecast, the full course supply and demand PDF, and much, much more. Make sure you guys subscribe so you can catch next week's forecast as well. And I always appreciate a like. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.